has an edge to it there. You can run your finger there and it has an edge. So that's a plantain sedge.
Strange word.
Yeah, it's a plantain sedge. This is, yeah. So this is, you were looking in the book for the club mosses, right? So this is one type of club moss here.
It's called shining.
Shining, I
Yeah.
think. And then here, Christine, is another kind. It's a different kind today.
Oh yes.
So
It's like pine.
yeah. So put that in your pocket and then look tonight at
Okay.
so that's a different kind
Okay.
of or bee balm, a beautiful red flower. But look what happens here. Here's a flower, 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 a flower. Where'd the flowers go?
I guess deer.
The deer,
Yeah, eating.
the deer eat them. The deer eat them. So they think this is nice salad stuff for the deer. Here in the woods, mostly men. Sometimes they would bring women with them, not very often. And they would live here and they would cut down all the trees. All the trees. And they had the railway here with a tough little train engine called a Shea engine. And so we'll see that this afternoon when we go over to the Lumber Museum. So the Shea engine would come up here and it would have train cars behind it. It was a tough little engine and there was a Barnhard log loader that would pick up the logs and put them onto this the cars, and then they would take the wood out of here. They would take it down to about Route 6 where there was another railway that went into that little town called Gaelton, and there the wood would be made into lumber and then it would be shipped all over the United States. So they would stay here in these woods for maybe 1 or 2 years in this area, take all the trees down, and then they would pick up the rails and they would move them to the next hollow over, and they would do the same thing there until there were no trees left. So all of these trees that you see here now are less than 100 years old. In this place there was a blacksmith shop where they worked with iron, because this didn't come out of a train. It came out of a place where they were working with metal, you know, where you'd have to have a very hot fire. And then when you burn the coal, this is what's left over afterwards. I mean, this is what the coal looks like. I mean, you have lots of coal in Taiwan, or you burn lots of coal.
Yeah, right.
And so this is what the coal looks like, but after it's burned, this is left over. So the other trees, and it doesn't get very big, and it has no commercial value. So the forester would like it if your friend Greg cut down every one of these. So about there, let's take this one.
And it's really, really
So I cut it about here. Maybe come and hold this end.
I will take all your coating. Yeah, yeah, Thank you so much.
And this trail marked with the orange blaze is here, and orange blaze is this way. This is called the STS, the Susquehannock Trail System. So when I say on the waiver form in the morning we're going to walk on the STS, this is it, the Susquehannock Trail System. And it goes in a loop like this. If we walk this way, we would come back here in about 8 or 9 days. Do you have
Enough food.
8 or 9 days.
Not enough food.
Not enough days. Not enough food. No. Well, there's lots of water to drink. So we could walk that way and come back here, right here, in about 8 or 9 days. And there's lots of places to sleep under the woods here.
Yeah. I have to keep me healthy, right? Now we need to take care. Oh, sorry. Oh, leek.
Garlic?
It's a leek.
Leek.
Ah.
It's a wild leek.
Yeah.
Oh, you could eat it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. That we saw this morning. Remember I said there was no use. So this is a very small, tough engine. And then in here is the Barnhard log loader. That would load the logs onto rails like this to take them out. So this and in here were all the different ways that the men lived in the woods. So we'll walk around and see the lumber. We'll do that next weekend. For they have a convention where they call it a bark peelers convention. It's a country fair where they have different contests. So they take these logs out into the other part of the water, and then you stand on one end of the log and I stand on the other end, and we spin it, and I try to get you
Out of in the water.
into the water
Okay.
and me stand on top.
Okay.
So they call that log burling or log rolling.
Roaring. R-O-L-L-I-N-G.
Yeah,
Rolling.
and they have a contest, and people, there'll be 1,000 people sit here
Are watching.
and cheer.
Right.
In behind the museum itself,
Yeah.
there were 2 props up like this, about this high off the ground,
Right.
and this is a log that is no bark on it, and they put lard, Crisco, shortening on it, and it's hot, hot sun, and you stand or sit on this end, and I sit on this end, and we each have a pillow, and I try to knock you off into the big thing of sawdust. So they have all kinds of,
Interesting.
and then
Those
they
are
have,
historically enactments.
Yes.
Because people had no money then, and it's probably that's what
it
they
was
did.
good entertainment.
Yeah.
And then they have a stove, a pot-bellied stove, and they heat up the stove,
Right.
and so you stand back and you take tobacco and you spit it at the stove, and to see how accurate you are.
烧蜜啊，不是啊，他那个蒜头要不要？
So this is All Saints Episcopal Church. So in Canada, we would call this an Anglican church.
Oh, yeah.
In England, they would call this a Church of England church. So if you go back far enough, this church would have been a Roman Catholic, right? Episcopals or Anglicans or Church of England were at one time, before the Reformation, they were Roman Catholics. So, and it doesn't take a lot of imagination to have a look at our church here as being part of a little part of England, does it? Because this is an exact copy here of an English church. The church was built by one family, paid for by their own funds,